It can be hard knowing what to practice when you're first starting off with your flow journey, but I'm here to help with another 10 tricks that you should definitely line up sooner rather than later. Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And today, I'm coming at you with a sequel to that list of the 10 poi tricks that you should start with and giving you 10 more. But before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Fire Mecca, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterra Light Toys, Spinballs, and Ultra Poi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all of these awesome companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I have down in the description of this video. And special thanks to the non-business friends of the channel, Lei Muczynski and Becca Bekkonen. Thank you both so much for supporting my channel, my work, and my mission. So let's be real here. Starting off your poi journey can be a little bit of a challenge, not just because you're having to learn some brand new skills, but also because there isn't really what we would call an established order or canon of the tricks as you're supposed to go through them. I've been teaching poi now for a decade and a half, and in that time, I've definitely been keeping notes on which tricks flow into each other and which skills are necessary for things down the road. So I've been putting together my own canon list of the order that those poi tricks ought to go in. In fact, I already shared 10 of them. Let's do a quick summary right now. Pendulums, extensions, poi butterflies, reels or reel turns, stalls, windmills, in-spin flowers, tuck turns, the 3-beat weave, waist straps. Now, after I published that list, I got so many requests from people that wanted to know the next 10 tricks in order. So, your wish is my command. I did my best to assemble a list of 10 tricks that are essential at the beginning, and that technically speaking, you can get down if you haven't gotten down the tricks that were on the first list. But if you did get down all the tricks on the first list, it is going to come in super handy for this list. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to start you off with 2 different butterfly variations. Trick number 1, thread the needle. Personally, I've always loved thread the needle, both because it's a great challenge for balancing out what each of your hands is capable of, as well as the fact that it makes for some really cool accents. There's a really dramatic presentation of thread the needle that involves moving your hands really far back and forth as you're performing the trick. I think that this can look really percussive and a great accompaniment to poi dance. It's also a great trick to give to people who are struggling to even out the proficiency of each of their hands. Usually, our dominant hand starts off being able to do pretty much anything we can think of, but our non-dominant hand might struggle to catch up with it. But baked into thread the needle is evening out the proficiency of each of our hands being the dominant one in performing a butterfly. Literally, all thread the needle is switching off which hand is the dominant one. And of course, buried within thread the needle is a great lesson on poi cross points, that is, moving the poi back and forth between parallel planes. If you're interested in learning more about that, I will go ahead and link to a video that I recently did on that topic down in the description, as well as up in the cards if you're watching on YouTube. Split time butterflies. Okay, now we're getting wild with our butterflies out there. The theory behind split time butterflies is pretty simple. We're just performing a butterfly, but we've changed the timing of it from being in together time to being split time. So the poi meet together to either side and they're split apart top and bottom. And I must say, I've always loved split time butterflies because they seem so at odds with the symmetry of human anatomy. Like when we do our together time butterflies, we are fundamentally working with something that is a mirror image across itself on a vertical line. Whereas when we do our split time butterflies, it's a mirror image across a horizontal line, and that feels very strange to human beings. But honestly, I tend to find that my favorite variation on most poi tricks involves using split time butterflies. So it's best to start with this as early as possible to really get it into your body. Awesome. So for these next 4 tricks, we're going to be digging a little bit into the world of reels and weaves that we covered in the first video. So if you're not caught up on those, might be a good idea to do so before going any further. Trick number 3, hip reels. Wait a second though, didn't we cover reels in the first video? Yes, and we covered one specific type of reel in the first video, but now I want to come at it from a more systematic fashion. See, reels are something that we can keep fixed around specific parts of our bodies. In this case, I want us to focus on the hips. Not only can we keep the reels fixed around that part of our body, but we can also move the poi in one of 4 different variations that we refer to as timing and direction. Timing and direction is one of the most most important concepts in poi, and it generally means that any trick you learn is going to have 4 variations associated with it. If you are unfamiliar with timing and direction, again, I will go ahead and leave a link to a video on that topic down in the description, as well as up in the cards if you're watching on YouTube. But once we understand what we're capable of, we can play around with our hip reels in together same, we can play around with them in together opposite, we can play around with them in split time same direction, and we can play around with them in split time opposites, which is an entire adventure in and of itself. And as with most things poi, if there's a version of this that works around our lower half, there's also a version that works around our upper half too. Trick number 4, shoulder reels. Cool, so the theory here is actually pretty similar to what it was with our hip reels. Namely, we're trying to focus on having our poi reels concentrated around a single part of the body. In this case, rather than our hips, it's going to be our shoulders. And of course, just like our hip reels, we want to try and work through each and every one of our shoulder reels in all of the different timing and direction modes. Together same, together opposite, split time same direction, and split time opposites, which once again is a bit of an adventure. And the eagle-eyed among you may have also picked up on the fact that we actually already learned one of these in the first list video. Namely, those windmills are pretty much the same thing as shoulder reels done in split time same direction. Pretty cool, huh? One of the greatest things you can get out of drilling both your hip reels and your shoulder reels is the ability to go back and forth between them and play around with your levels as you're spinning your poi. This also leads directly to things like tuck turns and a whole variety of other things like body tracers as well. And it also mashes up with the weaves from our first list video to produce number 5, fountains. So yes, I know that this move got passing mention in the last video, but I do actually want to expand on that just a little bit here. Fountains occur when we take a waist strap that is turning back and forth between a forwards and a reverse 3-beat weave, and suddenly adding up and down motion to it. This effectively turns that waist strap into something more akin to a flower. And this actually winds up being really important knowledge for a lot of poi tricks in the future. That ability to kind of smush down something that's got a lot of volume to it to just a straight line, whether it be a horizontal line or a vertical line, comes in really handy for understanding the relationships between a whole bunch of other poi moves. Add to that the fact that it gives your waist straps some level changes, which I am always a fan of. Yeah, I think that this is well worth adding to your repertoire. And of course, it leads directly into another slightly more stripped down version of this trick called trick number 6, the 4-beat fountain. The 4-beat fountain is always going to have a special place in my heart because it was really the first poi move that I learned that was 2 different poi moves that had been kind of cut and pasted together, thus showing me the potential for transitioning between different poi moves. Not only does the 4-beat fountain look really cool, but it's also a great example of how we can create interesting poi transitions by cutting and pasting different poi moves in different orders. I love going from this waist strap up into a shoulder reel in split time same direction or windmill and feeling what happens and what changes when I make all these changes in the movement of the poi. I also recently discovered that there are 2 variations on this depending upon how involved you want to get with the movement of your hands. There's a version of this that involves passing your hands in front of your face during the top part of the fountain, and another version that involves trying to keep your hands back behind your ears until the poi are ready to come out in front of you. You can think of this as the difference between moving your hands back and forth across your body twice versus just once, with the hands in front on bottom and behind on top with one variation, and then moving back and forth between the 2 several times in the other. Cool, so next up we're going to take a look at 2 poi moves that utilize horizontal planes rather than vertical ones. Trick number 7, corkscrews. So I'm just going to say up front that corkscrews are awesome, and they are one of the most versatile poi tricks that you can possibly do that involve working on a horizontal plane. For the longest time, corkscrews were the only poi tricks that I knew of that worked on a horizontal plane. Many people accidentally do them when they're trying to do windmills instead and wind up just somewhere with their planes a little bit flopped over. But corkscrews are good for so much more than that. Corkscrews are a great tool to dance with. They're also a great way of transitioning in and out of a variety of other horizontal plane moves. And, well, they look pretty cool in their own right. One of my favorite variations is a 4-beat version, which we're going to save for a little further down the road if y'all don't mind. And of course, I love playing around with different amounts of volume as I'm performing these corkscrews, going big with them, going small, and everywhere in between. There is so much versatility here if you know what to look for. And speaking of horizontal plane moves that do not get nearly enough credit, trick number 8, horizontal plane flowers. So ironically enough, a lot of us actually do this trick unintentionally when we are very early on in our poi journey. It is, after all, much easier to keep those poi just hanging below our hands than it is to try and get them spinning up in vertical planes, which is fine. But I also think that there's a lot of potential here that sometimes doesn't get explored until much later in our poi journey. Horizontal flowers represent a great opportunity for us to play around with turning back and forth across our body. We can also take our time adding and removing pedals depending upon how fast we want to go through that turn, and in the process learn a lot more about how we can move through a space. Also has to be said, they represent a great opportunity to switch back and forth between the vertical flowers we talked about in our last video and the horizontal flowers that we're talking about right now. I'm a fan of transitions, aren't you? I swear, horizontal flowers are something of a Rosetta Stone. You're able to use them not just to switch back and forth between vertical flowers and horizontal ones, but also they're really helpful for moving into corkscrews and a variety of other horizontal plane moves as well. These really are an incredibly useful tool. Cool, so we're zeroing in on our last 2 moves, and for these, we're going to be focusing specifically on transition tools, namely stalls. Trick number 9, up stalls. So straight up, and yes, pun intended, up stalls were the first poi trick that I ever saw that truly took my breath away, that truly looked like a moment when the laws of physics were glitching out. Just having a single poi head sticking up towards the ceiling and staying there for a half a second? Mind-blowing. There are also some super important lessons that come from learning up stalls that also help out with learning things like top stalls, isolations, and a variety of other poi tricks down the road. This is also another one of those poi tricks that it is super helpful to drill in a really systematized fashion. That is, once you've got a good understanding of timing and direction, be sure that you can do up stalls with your hands moving in every single mode. You'll discover as you do this that up stalls are a great transition tool for getting into spaces that you couldn't otherwise access with just your down stalls. This gives you access to more transitions, and transitions are always a good thing. And of course, they are super necessary for our last trick on the list. Now, before I reveal to you what that trick is, if you've come this far, it must mean that you like poi tricks a lot, which the good news is I produce a lot of content about poi and poi tricks. So if you could, please leave me a like and subscribe to the channel so you get to check out all of my poi videos as I upload them. It'll be good for both you and for me. Thanks in advance. And now, without further ado, the last trick on this list, trick number 10, stall splits. Okay, so what exactly is this that I'm demonstrating here? Well, basically, it is taking any kind of poi movement where I have the poi spinning in split time, whether it be split time same direction or split time opposites, and I'm performing both a down stall and an up stall at the same time. This produces this glorious appearance where I have one poi appearing to completely defy the laws of gravity and the other one moving in stark contrast to it. This can happen either with the poi apart or the poi together, depending upon what timing and direction mode I'm in. Now, I kind of struggle with putting this one on the list because it's not usually thought of as being a discrete trick in and of itself. And yet, at the same time, there is so much really important knowledge that is buried inside of it. Not only does this give you practice at performing 2 very different types of stalls at the same time, which is going to be really, really helpful in a variety of other tricks down the road, not to mention transitions, but also if you perform the variation of this that happens in split time same direction, the only way you can do it is by getting down a skill that I like to call the lanes of poi. That is, being able to hold one poi closer to your body than the other so they don't tangle up. This is knowledge that is incredibly important. Plus which, I have to admit that when I learned how to do this myself, I practiced it never-endingly, and I just thought the appearance of it was cool in itself. It didn't really have a name as a trick, and that's why I'm giving it one right now. But it was still something that I felt proud of as a neophyte poi spinner, and I hope if you take on this challenge, you'll be proud of it too. So there you go. That was my list of the next 10 poi tricks that you should pick up in your poi journey. What did you think of my list? Were there things that you think should have made the list and didn't? Things that did make the list that you're kind of not sure about? leave me a comment and let me know. And if you'd like more structured tutorials on how to perform any and all of these tricks, I would highly recommend my beginner poi course over on my learning site at learn.drexfactor.com. Even better, if you watch this video and you'd like to take the plunge, I'm going to give you a cool little deal on it too. If you use the code SECOND10, that is 2ND, 10, the number 10, you can get a discount of 5% off the cost of the entire course. So go check that out, please and thank you. This video would not be possible were it not for the kind support of all of these lovely people right here. These are my Flow patrons over on Patreon. They and the people listed down in the description help to make this video and all the videos on this channel possible. Thank you one and all for your very generous support. And if you out there watching are not currently a supporter but you'd like to become one, you can do that by heading on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and signing up. There you can get access to a whole host of awesome rewards, but even better than that, you will be helping me out in my mission to create videos just like this one and sending them out in the world to educate people about poi spinning and flow arts. So go check that out, please and thank you. If you'd like to check out a tutorial series that I did covering these and some other beginner tricks, I will go ahead and leave a link to that down in the description as well as up here on screen if you are watching on YouTube. Also, the YouTube algorithm thinks that you might like this top video here because it's really popular amongst people that are frequenting my channel, so maybe give that a look as well. Thanks so much for watching, make sure to get out and flow today, and I'll see you with a new video real soon. Peace.